Does your work make you feel safe? Have you ever been a victim of workplace violence? Did you know that a simple gossip, a rumor, a threat against you is already a form of violence? You may not be aware that you have already been involved in workplace violence, either because you think it's too petty and because you do not have any idea, or afraid to speak up because you're scared to lose your job or so ashamed of it. So let me give you an idea to shed light to what it is, what we can do about it, and what are the roles of the HR and the organization you are working with in preventing or reducing workplace violence. According to Occupational Health and Safety Act in Canada, workplace violence means the exercise of physical force by a person against the worker in the workplace that causes or could cause physical injury to the worker. It is also an attempt to exercise physical force against a worker in a workplace that could cause physical injury to the worker. And lastly, it is a statement or behavior that is reasonable for a worker to interpret as a threat to exercise a physical force against the worker in a workplace that could cause physical injury to the worker. This may include verbally threatening to attack a worker, leaving threatening notes at or sending threatening emails to a workplace, shaking a fist in a worker's face, wielding a weapon at work, hitting or trying to hit a worker, throwing an object at a worker, sexual violence against the worker, kicking an object to the worker, and standing on such as a ladder, or trying to run down a worker using a vehicle or equipment such as forklift. So what's the role of the HR? Your HR has a huge role in preventing workplace violence. They have the tools to intervene for the better, to educate, train, and implement policy programs to all stakeholders involved in the workplace. They reduce unsafe acts such as selection testing. Selection tests are done to screen out violent-prone individuals before they are hired. HR also assess the internal risk like workplace culture, activities, and external risk like family violence. It educates everyone on violence like awareness and training program including where can they get help. They also provide workers with resources for support including any medical or psychological support, and foster a culture of safety and encourage a respectful workplace by being cooperative and inclusive. So now let's go to the rules of employer or organization and the related legislation. According to the book Human Resources Management in Canada by Dessler and Schinzer, it is the responsibility of the employer to provide a safe and healthy working environment to its workers called due diligence requirement. They can be charged as alleged harasser if they are considered aware of a harassment or violence that has not been reported. According to Canadian Center for Occupational Health and Safety, employers should know the legislation for the jurisdiction regarding workplace violence. It is their duty to resolve, investigate, record, and report all incidents of violence as required. Also, according to Dessler and Schinzer, aside from reducing unsafe acts, the employer's role is to identify jobs with high risk of violence, to establish a workplace violence policy that clearly conveys management's pledge to avoid violent incidents, and also intensify security protocols like installing silent alarms, CCTVs, trainings, and anger management. However, according to Part 2 of the Canada Labor Code, workplace violence shouldn't be confused with normal workplace conflict and differences in opinion for as long it is respectful, professional, and in good faith, such as taking reasonable disciplinary actions or providing constructive feedback about work performance. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development's role, appointed by OHSA, is to inspect and ensure all parties in the workplace are complying with the workplace violence requirements or may investigate specific complaint or incident. According to Canada's Criminal Code, police should also be called right away if an act of violence took place at work or when someone was threatened with violence. Employers must also advise Joint and Safety Committee with results of the workplace violence risk assessment, as well as inform them if someone was killed, critically injured, disabled from doing their routinary work, or requiring medical assistance due to workplace violence. As an employee, you have the right to know what hazards are present in your workplace, such as workplace violence signs. You have the right to participate in keeping your workplace healthy and safe, and you have the right to refuse work what you believe to be dangerous to yourself or your coworkers. So next time you got involved to rumors or encounter threats, think you might have been or have been witnessed violence in your workplace, you now know your rights and what to do. Stop, think, and act. Say no to workplace violence. Take the lead. Don't be afraid to report incidents of workplace violence. It will encourage others and make a big difference to have a conducive, happy, and safe workplace for everyone. I hope this video inspired you to make a big difference out there. Thank you. Bye.